Boys, we've got a fun one today. I've kind of alluded to this video idea like a few times in the past, and a lot of you noticed in my Blood Ravens army showcase that there's the new Space Marine Gravis Captain, but he's actually got no head. Now, previously, for my Blood Ravens army, I've kind of like taken Space Marine heads and like green stuffed beards and the hairstyle on there to like replicate myself. So because obviously we've got Lieutenant Hellstorm and we've got like Smash Captain Hellstorm as well, but we've like Hellstorm Bolters appearing in the Space Marine codex with all like the new Gravis units, like the heavy intercessors. And my obsession with like 3D printers these days and just like how bloody fantastic they are, why the hell wouldn't I 3D print my own head and make Chapter Master Hellstorm, since I've got the badge to prove it?
Nice.
I think it was inevitable, let's be real. So today I'm going to take a scan or like make a replica of my own head and then fit it onto a Space Marine Captain with a Hellstorm bolt rifle. Then, because I love sharing things like this, I'm going to upload it to my mini factory. We're actually sponsoring today's video, and we'll go more onto that later. I'm going to upload the STL of my head that I put in this Captain to my mini factory so you guys can download it at home and then print it and then do whatever you want with my head. And speaking of my head, yes, it's pink on one side. Yes, it's sunburnt. Please leave a sarcastic comment about saturation or there's a filter on my screen or something like that, because I deserve it. I've not really been outside in the past 15 months properly, and I do it for the first time this weekend, and this is how I'm repaid. So, I deserve it. So, 3D scanning. A bizarre concept, most people, but did you know that you have a 3D scanner potentially in your pocket or on your table or on charge somewhere nearby because you've been watching TikTok all morning like me? It sounds very cliche, I know, but a phone, like any modern day phone these days, is very capable of like creating really good 3D scans. And there's like multiple ways you can do it. You can either do it by taking loads and loads of pictures around an object, or you can use like scanning apps such as the one we're going to be using today, Scandy Pro. I'm not the first one to come up with like 3D scanning to 3D print something, so there's like loads of resources you can do if you want to like look into this further. I'm going to reference a few videos now and I'll leave links to those in the description because I thought they were really helpful. But there's one by the Swedish maker who uses photogrammetry or photogeometry, where you take like hundreds of pictures around an object, for example, of like the top, the bottom, all the way around, and you've got to make sure you have like even light and stuff like that. But he kind of goes on in his video to explain how it all goes together using software to like stitch all the pictures together. I gave this a go. I gave it a quick go on my phone with my iPhone and just like literally just taking pictures with my arm like this. And it came out all right, actually, and I think I'm going to revisit this method in the future. The problem is this software can be quite expensive. But the way I'm going to be doing it today is using the app Scandy Pro. Now, there's a couple of videos. There's one by Andrew Sink, who 3D scanned like a cat model and then printed it himself, which is really cool. And there was also a video by Uncle Jesse as well, where he like scanned his head so he could like import it into his slicing software so he could like resize helmets and stuff like that so they'd fit properly, which is really smart. All three of these videos I've mentioned are really great videos, so I'll leave links to all of them in the description. So with this app that we're going to be using today, again, it's for iOS. I'm not sure if it's on Android, but it is free to a point. It's free where you can only export one file or save one file per week, and then you have to pay. But the cost is really low. Like, I've subscribed for 1 week and it was like £1.50 or something, and then I've just cancelled it when I don't need it. So cost is relatively low cost to get this app running. It's a shame it's not like a one-time thing, but I guess you can just resubscribe when you need to and then cancel it again. It's relatively straightforward to use. It's just kind of a case of positioning your phone at head height or at height of the object, having the object like hold still, but either spin round on like a rotary table or spin round physically like we're doing here, and keeping it central while scanning it slowly to whilst making sure it's all in focus. It'll flash red when it's not in focus, but essentially it's just make sure the model stays still and spins round slowly. And once you've got your scan, you can then save it as an STL or an object, and then you can import it into some software. Today I'm going to be using Mesh Mixer, but here's unscripted me to tell you how I put it all together. So I've got two parts here. So this is going to be really good because it's got like the bit that's going to be fitting the neck piece, and it means I can scale the head to the right size as well. And also I've got this like really rudimentary low resolution scan of my head as well. The reason I've got this is because not all of the scans that I've done have like the full head. It kind of like misses the back. So I've like got this one as well, which I can use. It's relatively low detail, but I can put some back in, and it's got like basically the back of my head. We're going to import my face. There's my head with my chest as well. As you see, there's like the bits missing on the top. There's the holes. This is why we didn't quite get to scan. There's a little hole behind my ear and the back of my hair and stuff like that. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to like clean this up as much as possible and then fill it in, and then use my other head to fill in the bits we don't have, and then tidy it all up and like really exaggerate the details because we're printing this so small. Games Workshop miniatures and miniatures that you paint are really like heroic scale, so like everything's exaggerated, so we need to do the same thing to a point where it's actually going to show up when we print it because it's so small. So I'm just going to clean this up and we'll try and fit it. Now, in no way am I someone who is an expert sculptor. I've never done any real organic sculpting, so it's all like guesswork and just kind of playing around. Okay, so we've got my head fitted in the, let's call it the brace. So that's looking pretty good. And what I might do is try and sculpt it a little bit first and then try and mesh them together. And then we can basically go through and try and like bring out the texture and like flatten it off. And so we're just going to use the flatten tool. We're trying to like fix these holes first to try and flatten them out. Again, I don't really like do any 3D sculpting. This is all guesswork. I've been watched a few videos this morning and now I know how to do it. So. Okay, so that's looking pretty neat now. It like fits in their head quite well. I actually look a bit like a Space Marine, which is great. We've got a couple of holes. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and fix them automatically by using the inspector tool. And there's quite a lot, obviously, but we're just going to like give it a go. Okay, so that's actually done a really good job at fixing the holes that we've got. So like you can see that the head is fixed. Hole in the mouth is fixed up as well, and the hole under the ear as well, which is great. What I'm going to try to do is rather than using this, we've got like a good idea of where my head, like where the hair flows. I'm going to try and just like sculpt it back on using brushes like the inflate tool. So we'll like try and inflate my head and then we'll flatten it down a bit. So we'll like kind of like build it up a bit like this, give it some more shape because it's a little bit flat at the minute. And then we'll go back to the flatten tool and try and smooth it out where we need to. Okay, so now it's looking a bit more natural. What we need to do is kind of like redefine some of the features, because like if you look like at the beard here, you can see obviously where my mouth is and you can see there's something around, but like the face and my beard like are like molded together. So we're going to have to like exaggerate my beard basically so it stays up when we do go to print it. So what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to like inflate all of it and draw the outline. And then I'm going to like try and smooth it out to make it look natural. And we're going to do the same with like my nose. We're going to like redefine this, like pushing the nose so it's like more prominent, bring up the cheeks a little bit, and then probably add in some eyebrows as well. So I'm going to look really daft after I've done all of this. But with my prototype, it really worked. So you could actually see the details when they got printed out. Because again, when it's so small, you need to exaggerate everything so you can get like, so the washes have got somewhere to go. So the highlights have got somewhere to go. So let's give it a go. Let's see how it comes out. So while past sped up me is doing just that, let me tell you about today's sponsor, myminifactory.com, with their latest campaign they are hosting, Death Plague. myminifactory.com are one of, if not the largest 3D model hosting website on the web, and they are currently hosting Rocket Pig Games' latest STL bundle campaign named Death Plague. You may have seen me do a live stream about these guys already, but Death Plague is their newest setting for your horror or fantasy gaming adventures, first letting you choose your heroes or henchmen, and then which horrifying monster you battle across the Plague Lands. There's a whole bunch of excellent miniatures for you to download and print at home, such as the Hexa Heroes, Plague Doctors and Apothecaries, and then pit them against the likes of the Plague Ghouls, Devil Dogs, or Nocturnes. Once your heroes have bested the likes of these, they can move on to fight even bigger nasties such as the Plague Devil, the pustuled Plague Bearer, or even a Larvoth with your support. All of the minis look great and even come with a PDF of the story behind Death Plague, as well as the encounters, character sheets, and even new classes for your games of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Please follow the link in the description and use code HSRocket5, all caps, for 5% off any pledge you make. Thank you very much to myminifactory.com for sponsoring today's video, and thank you for taking a look at the campaign. Now let's get back to modelling my head. Okay, so that is not bad, I don't think. There's a couple of bits that I could fix, but I'm going to give it a go and I'm going to print it and see what it's like and make sure it's like the right size, make sure, see if the details look alright. Again, like my eyes are super exaggerated, my beard and my lips are like super exaggerated, but I'm hoping because of that they'll actually show up. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to export this as one model. So as you can see here, this is like this is like my prototype I did. So this is like without doing the back of my head and stuff like that. And like you can see like on this one, the details are like super duper exaggerated, and they showed up really well in the first print. Whereas my new one is a little bit bigger because the first one was a bit small, but the details aren't quite as exaggerated, so I might have to go back in and exaggerate them a bit more, especially like the beard and stuff like that, because the beard looks very smooth now compared to this one. Or it might mean I have to rescan it, but what we'll do is we'll delete that and we'll print this and then we'll see what it looks like. So it took like 40 minutes to print this one, and it actually came out a lot better than I expected. So we had a small fail because the bottom, the round piece which is going to like sit in the actual miniature, didn't print properly, but the rest of the head did. There he is. It's really hard to get good focus in this colour, but there's my head. That's the one we just worked on. So I'm quickly going to go prime this so we can maybe see more of the details, and then it is actually too big. So I'm going to have to reprint it, but I want to prime it to just kind of show you what this one looks like. So this is what it looks like when it's primed. I just primed it grey. And like, look at that. That is, in my opinion, super cool. I'm so chuffed with how this has just turned out with just a £1.50 phone app and like an hour of like messing around with some editing tools. I don't know. I'm really chuffed. There's like some things that I'm not sure if I'm going to paint up well. But the facial features look great. The beard you can see is defined. So with a little bit of like painting trickery and like exaggerated painting, basically like painting stuff that isn't there, we can probably like rescue that. Especially with this side of my head, the shaved side, it almost looks bold, but the hair looks great. Like the detail around the face, like the bit that's covering my ear, looks really cool, I think. So it's just a little bit too big, but you kind of get the idea. This is what we're aiming for. So let's go and edit it in Mesh Mixer, re-export it, reprint it, and see what it looks like. So I've gone away, I've printed it, but I've also painted it. So it's at 85%. Now, before I show you, listen. Because of the heroic scale versus the 3D realistic scale, this face is very hard to paint. So I do look like I've just seen some stuff, you know? But here I am. There I am. A little tiny me. You know? Look, it's a little tiny me. I'm just like, so I've done some cheating with the painting. So like painted on texture of the hair and stuff like that. So it looks like there's texture where there isn't. Same with the beard as well. I'm really bad at painting eyes. There's no real eyes there to paint except for the big round things. There's no eyelids, so they look like I'm just like... Look, it's uncanny, look. I'm really chuffed. So I haven't put it into the captain yet. I'm going to do that and do a cool montage with it. Now, I'm not the best at painting faces, and this proved like a really hard challenge because the details are like photorealistic, and by that they're like in proportion to the rest of my actual face, whereas like miniatures that you paint, all the proportions are really exaggerated, so they are easy to paint and they show up, such as like huge noses or massive like skin folds that are like humongous, so you can actually draw your paintbrush across them. I'm not a good enough digital sculptor to like exaggerate these details and make it look right, and I'm also not a good enough painter to pretend the details are there and to paint them in properly. But I do feel like from a glance it is recognizable, and that was kind of like the whole game plan. Again, I can't sculpt with physical putty like I can with green stuff. Can't sculpt digitally, so I feel like this is like a really good balance. I've never really used Mesh Mixer, so this is like the first time I've used it properly, and I feel like it's actually turned out pretty good. So also for fun, I thought, well, I printed it really small. Why don't I print it at 200%? So I've got like a giant head that I could probably like use as like a pencil topper or something. Look at it. So I hope you've enjoyed this process and this video as a whole. 3D printing is such a cool technology, and I feel like I'm only at like the tip of the iceberg of what you can do with it, or even what I'd like to do with it. But if you have any cool ideas that you want me to see me do, then let me know down in the comments, and hopefully I can like work on them. Also, as I said at the start of the video, if you do want to go ahead and print a giant version on my head, or print a little tiny head to put in your own army, then I'll upload that file along with the neck brace that I use to like scale it if you want to make your own head, and I'll put them both on myminifactory.com. There's a link in the description for that, along with a link to the Deathplague campaign, which they're hosting on their website as well. I want to say a massive thank you to My Mini Factory for sponsoring today's video, and thank you to you guys for checking out the link in the description to that campaign that I'm promoting. Like, you guys following these links to these products or campaigns that I do promote like really help me out. They really help out the channel, and it makes companies like Mine Manufacturing more likely to come back to me in the future to support me again. So like I really appreciate them for coming to me, and I really appreciate you guys for going out and checking out the links. I'm going to be working with them once again for the Death Plague diorama video that I'm going to be building in the future, so make sure if you want to see that, do subscribe, or if you just want to see other 3D printing / Warhammer related content, then do subscribe for that as well. Otherwise, make sure you like the video as always, and thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye now.